Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of The Sweet House. Today, the house is getting a bit brighter because we have a star in the house. And this is Maegan. Maegan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Maegan is, first of all, busy, booked, and blessed. She is the owner of Skin Pharm. They have locations in Atlanta, Houston, Nashville, Franklin, Charlotte. She has multiple locations and she owns them all. Not only that, she just got a $16 million investment into her company. So today's information, you guys need to get out your notebooks and you're ready to take notes because we're talking about it all. I'm excited to dive into it with you. You're probably
Let's do it.
I know I shouldn't be biased towards my guests, but I'm super excited because we've just been talking. We went over and got coffee together. We both showed up in pinstripe today. Mm-hmm. Something is happening in the universe and we are just like, the Sweet House is popping today. So thank you for joining us.
Feels good. Thank you.
And I always give people their flowers when they come. I just want you to know that we admire you, and even everybody that's like behind the scenes over here, I'm sure is like, wow. So
that's really sweet. Thank you. I feel the same about you.
Oh, thank you for, like I said, coming and all of that. I want to dive straight into it because I have a lot of questions and we've got a little bit of time. So I'm curious to know, what did the initial framework of Skin Pharm look like? What was the focus? Was the focus building the med spa?
Yes. Mm-hmm. We could probably spend an hour talking about this, but I'll try to be concise. So yes, it started with clinics. I feel like this is where I can kind of offer some information about my background. So I was working in plastic surgery and dermatology prior to starting Skin Pharm. I had been doing that for about 3 years. And I was working in clinic, also going to the OR, providing dermatology care, like head to toe skin exams, looking at suspicious moles, removing skin cancers. But then I was doing lasers and Botox and filler and skincare consults. But then I would go to the OR and assist the surgeon. When I started Skin Pharm, it started with clinics. Yes, that was 2017. And then in 2018, the skincare line launched.
Okay, so 2018, the skincare line launched.
Yes.
Was that always your focus, or was it like, did you know you were going to launch the skincare line? Because I just want to break it down for you guys. So Skin Pharm is just a luxurious med spa experience. It's an experience. I want to call it that because it's not just going to a typical doctor's office. They actually care and they will do a case by case situation and really just understand like your skin journey. Yes. Like I didn't know what I needed until I went to Skin Pharm.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you started these clinics was like it's super intriguing to me because a lot of times when people think of their skin, they think they need to see a plastic surgeon or they need to see a dermatologist, and it's very medical. But with the med spa, do you even like it being called a med spa, or what's your preference?
I mean, it's not my preference, but I mean, technically or like legally, it's a med spa. But clinic, and it's really cosmetic dermatology is the phrase that we've focused on, or aesthetics, medical aesthetics. But I completely agree with you. Yes, it can get very medical and sterile when receiving these treatments. And that's what I saw. And that's okay. But for me, it wasn't okay. And I wanted something better. I wanted a better experience as the customer. And I saw it also. I was training different businesses, mostly along the East Coast, but I was traveling. So seeing the different areas that I just mentioned that I was practicing in, and then also training, I had this like lens where I was like, okay, I see what's happening. I see what we're doing. It's not that great. And I think we could do better. But I hadn't had the thought to start a company prior to when I started noticing that the experience we were offering was like okay at best. And then I would come home and talk about it with my husband. He's a startup guy. And he encouraged me to start Skin Pharm, and here we are. So I think sometimes the right answer, the really exciting answer would be like, yes, I always thought about doing this and starting clinics and a skincare line, but I didn't. And it just came about very organically, and that I would research the options out there and decided
love
we needed
that
better.
you're doing turned into get it done though, because
Yes.
it's like I do think a lot of times when we think of our dreams and our aspirations, it's very much so like I want to be Beyonce or I want to be Oprah, or it's very much so what we think we want. But sometimes when you're actually doing something, that's when it comes about. It's kind of like during the pandemic when people had like businesses in their homes that are now flourishing because they were just doing something during that time. So I do love that. I actually hate going to the doctor. Every time I go, I'm like, I swear I'm not having a stroke. I just don't like it in here. But I think part of it is the sterile environments, like you're saying. Like, I think the fact that you were able to create something unique as Skin Pharm is why it's flourishing.
I think that's a huge part of it.
Yeah, for sure. And everybody wants to be a part of it. And again, if you haven't been, you need to book a consultation and go, because it's just what you didn't know, it's what you didn't know you needed, for sure. So you got into skincare. And what I know about skincare, I told you when we were chatting before this that I've literally been wearing Mary Kay since I was like a teenager. And I've always loved the makeup. And it's just, my mom sold Mary Kay and she would do these like facial classes and all that stuff.
Did she have a sticker on the car?
Girl, she had the car.
She had the car.
My mom
was it pink?
No, she got the red Grand Am.
Okay.
Yeah, no, they had the pink Cadillac too. But see, that was the hot thing back then. Like everybody sold Mary Kay and Avon, and that was what we knew for skincare. And so now there's like, so you have the med spas, but then you also have lots of options for skincare. So when you started the med spa and it's going well, then you decide you want to step into skincare. What did that look like?
I just was like, we should do more, right? So with the skincare, I had access to a lot of medical grade skincare lines that are good. And I was dispensing or offering those or recommending and selling them to my patients, clients, and customers. But I didn't fully trust and love one brand. So I was having to pick from all these different brands, which is fine. But then it was kind of just the same case scenario where I was like, I should just go ahead and take matters into my own hands and start developing our own product line. Similar though, in that, I just started with a few products. I was very intentional and I would go to a lab and partner with them. Never knew that we would be I just handed you like a pre-launch product that we're about to launch this upcoming weekend. And it's just this fully like perfectly edited, beautiful packaging, but also luxurious feeling formula, but it also works. And I feel like that's really hard to find in skincare. I feel like you either find like really pretty products and they may or may not work. And then maybe products that really work, but they're pretty industrial and not necessarily packaging that you like want to have out on your vanity, right? And we've done both of that. And so never thought we'd be here, but it's just really exciting.
So I just want to reiterate that she has been involved in like even the lab side of things and as a business owner. So you went from nurse practitioner working in derm and plastic surgery to opening up your clinics to then stepping into skincare. And I just like, I have to give you your flowers from a marketing perspective too, because I really love how you've been able to brand this. And this is a lesson that I think everybody can have whenever they're trying to have a business, but then scale the business. Because in my opinion, you scaled the business with the skincare. It was an added element. But for me, like you thought about what the packaging would look like. You thought about like the experience that you get at a Skin Pharm clinic and how to move that on to skincare. Because a lot of times when people go to the doctor, they leave and they have a prescription for this, or even dermatology, they have like a list of different products, like you said, from all these different places. And then they have what they've been using at home. And that might be Neutrogena cleanser or a Mary Kay like makeup remover or whatever. So we've all got a hodgepodge of stuff that we're putting on our faces. But what I love about Skin Pharm is we got the experience and then you also have the skincare. So when I went into the clinic, and this is just my own testimonial, Clementine, shout out to Clementine, is literally like, what are you doing with your skin? I'm like, girl, I don't know. So then she gives me recommendations, what she thinks based off of what she sees. And then she's like, okay, I wrote down this routine for you. We're going to print it out for you. And then I'm going to have the products ready for you. And it was just nice to know that the products came from the same source. And so the branding is impeccable, but also the go-to market strategy, I feel like is just great. So all around. And that's what I really love about you're hands-on, it seems, in the business. So
yes, I would definitely say I am.
Yeah, you definitely are. But again, it goes back to you doing the work that birthed this dream that's really working out. So, but as somebody who does marketing, I see it because I see things as more than just a product. Yeah. And anybody who's working on a vision needs to look at things as more than just the finished product.
Absolutely.
You need to be, especially if you want to scale it. Yeah, the whole experience. Yeah. So,
I mean, and so when I said, I think I joked about let's just do more. But if I'm being honest, it can be challenging because of how intentional I do like to be. And it can be hard to have, the clinics and want to be intentional with that and grow it. And then the product line, which is really its own company or its own business, but they just work so well together that, and they complement each other. So I'm so happy that we have them under the same umbrella. Yeah. But I would be lying if I didn't say they were early on. At one point, did my husband and I ever talk about which one should we scale? Which one do we pay attention to? And I couldn't decide. It's just, I wanted to provide comprehensive care, and this is how you do it. Yeah. So I'm so glad we're doing it. And I really appreciate you noticing the importance of the two going hand in hand. Yeah, I mean, as soon as you walk into a Skin Pharm, you're greeted almost like you're in a store, but it's not overbearing. It's very homey, and I can tell across the brand from the design of literally the little living room space, which I call it the living room space, but it's the receptionist area, but it makes you feel at home. So I love it. But I just wonder what, you're announcing a new product and you can tell everybody about it. She just brought me some today. I'm excited to use it. But what does the go-to market strategy for something look like that, from ideation all the way to it's now available to the public? Because after this, she's going to go do a photo shoot, and you guys are launching the product soon. So I'm just curious, because the average person is going to wonder this too. What does that look like? How do I make something like this happen for myself? Okay, well, so there's two different kinds of launches that we're focused on right now on the product side. And the one that I've brought you is a reiteration or an edit of an existing product. So something that we're really good at doing is going back through our product line and saying, where can we improve? What can we add to this formula? What can we, how can we improve the packaging? That's this product. So, I mean, the timeline, so our clarifying pads, our crystal clear clarifying pads are one of our two top sellers. The other one is Youth Serum. And those took 3 years. Yeah. And this one, more like 18 months. We're getting things down, moving a little bit faster. And then we have another product coming out next month, which is a totally new launch. It's it's more like a skincare tool. And so that was around, that'll be a total of still 12 months. Yeah. And once you get into heavily customizing and, licensing, you're looking at just ordering 25,000 units. So it's just really wild to be here, because we started on a much smaller scale where you had some control over the product, but not a ton. But now we're fully customizing product, but we also have a warehouse to store that product, and we have the demand from our community. I mean, I would never could have, some of the girls that were on the team with me early on, we laughed thinking of when we would order a case, we'd order 12 and be like, man, I hope we sell these. Yeah. And now we're ordering 25,000. It's just entirely wild.
It looks like you have the Kylie Jenner effect. I remember watching that episode when she launched the lip kits and she was like, I hope I sell these.
I mean, that's the goal, right?
Yeah. But what I really want to hone in on is the fact that it took time, because we do live in the microwave era, and everyone thinks, oh, I'm just going to come up with this product. And it took time, even beyond those 12-month stints or 3-year stints that you're talking about. It took you went to Belmont for undergrad. And then where'd you go for nurse practitioner?
TSU.
Yeah. So, and TSU has a great program. One of my best friend graduated from TSU's nurse practitioner program.
Yeah.
But I think that also when we think about where we are in our careers, you have to think about all of the education and the time that you put into this. So it didn't just happen as a company and then turn into a skincare line.
Right.
And even the product like life cycle, it took you 3 years to make sure this product is right. Because the last thing you want to do is put something out here that's like got people's skin coming off.
No, we don't want to do that.
No, it's not Halloween yet.
No.
So,
but it can be scary because you're committing to a formula and artwork on a packaging, and you're like, I'm not even going to see this come to fruition for months upon months. So,
and it's interesting too that even still, you still experience a little bit of imposter syndrome when I hear you say you were just buying a case. It's like, how do you deal with that? How did you deal with like, what's going to come of this?
Well,
yeah. Do you just block it out of your mind and just continue to move forward, or what's that like?
I think it's nice that I have a team. That's really great. So, I can maybe get in my own head, but like we have a very capable, amazing team. Yeah. And I'm like, they can move things forward for sure. So I get better and better at handling imposter syndrome. It's been almost 7 years now, but it's not non-existent. So.
Yeah. Even where you are now, it's not really. Well, does your team ever engage with the full process, or are they just like, how did you even build this team? How did the team come about? Because I know you said one of them has been with you since the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, several of them have. We've got now like over 70 people.
Oh, wow.
And recruiting like the right people has been so important to me from the very beginning. And I just feel like everyone that's at Skin Pharm right now is not only passionate about the industry, because it's a very exciting industry and a great industry to work in, but the company and like what we're doing and why we're unique. I think that I know that they're very passionate about us and our goals and our mission. And that's just, it creates the best culture. I mean, we really do have an amazing culture at Skin Pharm, and the team is amazing. And I don't say it enough. Like, we would not be where we are without the team, and of course, like the community that we've built to support us, because we wouldn't be here if we didn't have the customer, right?
Absolutely. You say, at its core, Skin Pharm's model was built upon my desire to receive safe treatments from trustworthy providers in a relaxed, comfortable environment. And I think we've mastered this. And I think you've mastered this. And even I want to go back to talking about the staffing, because you mentioned that you have 70 employees. At this point, which is incredible, especially for 7 years in business, and for you to be able to scale not just the clinical side, but also the skincare side. I'm wondering, what do you look for when you look into hiring nurse practitioners and PAs? And why just nurse practitioners and PAs to work for the clinic?
That's a great question. I'm glad that you asked it. Well, I feel like I touched on the passion is an absolute must, like the brand awareness. You can't teach that. So they have to come forward with that. And it's been really nice that a lot of the people self-select, and that they're like, I want to work for Skin Pharm. I've listened to your podcast. I've read this article. I've come in and I get it, and I want to be part of the team. And then as far as having NPs and PAs, it's something where by practice, I realized that's what was going to work for our company. It's not that I think across the board that should be the standard. But with NPs and PAs, there is a level of education that provides prescribing abilities. And especially early on when I was treating, I was coming straight out of derm and I was seeing more acne. We still see a fair amount of acne. But we do like to have the ability to prescribe an oral antibiotic or spironolactone for female pattern acne. But then we combine the prescriptions with the medical grade skincare, with the needling and the BBL, with the lifestyle adjustment. So again, bringing it back to the whole comprehensive treatment. So it was just really important for me. And I do feel like there's a movement in, I don't know if I should say movement, but I do see kind of MPs and PAs becoming like the lead injectors in this industry. So I don't know if that's going to become the standard or not, but it's just what works out for Skin Pharm.
Well, I also noticed a lot of other places are also offering like Botox and injections and things. Like I went to an IV clinic and they were offering like Botox and stuff like that. And then I've seen orthodontists who are offering Botox and stuff like that. So how do you feel, or what advice can you give to like a consumer that is trying to find, obviously go to Skin Pharm, but I'm just like, I'm pretty sure the average consumer is also thinking the same thing. Like if they see a big sign driving by the orthodontist that says we offer Botox, like what do you think about other clinicians that are offering this thing in those spaces?
Listen, there's plenty of people who are like licensed and able to deliver injectables. And of course that differs like state to state. But I think what's more important is if the person is doing it full time, like if that's their core practice. And that goes back to why I started Skin Pharm, and that I saw it just treated like an afterthought. It would be tagged on to a derm clinic, but kind of an afterthought. Like they're not really fully every day thinking about how they can safely deliver injectables, going to trainings. They just saw it as like, this is a great way to make some additional
Extra
income.
money,
Some supplemental income. So if you find someone who's not at Skin Pharm who, is really good at what they do, and you like their before and afters and you like their aesthetic, I think you should look at them and see yourselves in them and say, I would be okay with looking like that person. Of course, you're going to look like yourself still, but that's kind of how you get, you can pick up their vibe. But I think that's why Skin Pharm is so great at what we do, because it's our full-time job. It's our core practice.
Yeah, for sure. I love that it's a core practice, but a lot of people see orthodontists on a daily basis. So, or whoever, they may walk into an IV clinic or even weight loss clinics I've seen that are like adding on.
It's popping.
Yeah, it's popping. Like injectables, cosmetic, dermatology is like a thing now.
Yes.
And everybody can be licensed, but I just want to make sure people understand whether it's a core practice, which it is at Skin Pharm, versus this is just an addition to the business for the clinician. And so it's important to do your research for sure.
Yes.
Because you don't want to end up in a bad situation. I mean, we see people all the time that are wanting to reverse things that they've done. So what do you think about that when people are like, they get something done and they want to reverse it?
I mean, I think it's great that we have the ability to. I mean, the reason, I primarily think it's great because for safety reasons, if you ever have to reverse a product, I like that we have the drug that can reverse filler. I think the goal is always to not have to reverse filler simply because of like the time and discomfort that the patient would have to go through for that process. But listen, it's personal to get these things done. So at Skin Pharm, if that were ever the case, like we're open to feedback. But we usually try to get it right on the first time. Yeah,
I definitely feel like the fact that you have MPs and PAs is very helpful to the structure of the business, because that is your core practice. Because I feel like, again, it's like getting straight to the point without me having to go get my braces tightened, and then I might get some Botox too. So you say, having worked in general dermatology and plastic surgery, I was all too familiar with the field's unpleasant sides, short visits, excessive prescriptions, a lack of specialization. So if you could describe Skin Pharm's culture in like 3 words, what would it be to entice the average consumer?
Not that. Definitely intentional and welcoming. And that's from like our interior design. We want you to feel good on the furniture that you sit on, the furniture, the art that you see. The lighting is a huge deal to us, the playlist, and the providers.
Why the playlist?
We like to hire nice providers. The playlist. So I'm huge on music. Brad and I were just somewhere over the weekend, and we were hanging out somewhere and we saw the speakers, but they weren't playing it, and you could hear all the conversations. We were like, just turn the music on.
Right.
And we joke that it goes back to my days in retail, like working at Abercrombie. But just knowing like scent is a big deal. The playlist is a big deal. That's why we created our signature candle. So I need to circle back, but welcoming. And I the feedback is just consistently that the team was so sweet and loving and kind to all of our patients. So I would say that that's huge too.
Yeah, I want to circle back to the candle because so she has the playlist and the interior design down. And these are all aspects of business that I think people need to examine, like versus just putting out the physical or the product in general. It's like a brand is full circle. It's not just a
Especially
logo
nowadays.
Yeah, it's not just the logo. It's not just the website. Anybody can make a beautiful website, but when I come into your business, I want the aesthetic to match. I want to feel these things.
You want us to deliver.
Yes.
Right.
And so you mentioned working at Abercrombie, which is also very cool. And then because they too have done an excellent job but see, that whole brand model inspired you when it came to you putting together Skin Pharm, because she's got this Skin Pharm candle which burns in my house all the time. I actually just gave somebody a housewarming gift, and it was a Skin Pharm candle. Gift. Yeah, it's excellent. It smells so good. But,
it does.
So how involved were you in the production of even the Skin Pharm candle?
Very.
Yeah. So down to like who choosing the manufacturers and all of it?
Yes, I was involved. So we used someone local.
Okay.
We used Ranger Station.
Okay.
But we were burning candles. Did I start? It might have been the first clinic that I opened. I don't know if it was pre. But I mean, so that's been since 2019?
Yeah.
And people would comment on the scent. And then I started getting the idea of creating our own candle. And my husband and I were actually in Vegas, and I smelled a candle, and I loved it. And so then I worked with a local company here, and they just helped kind of pull certain notes that I was loving to make. I tend to like masculine candles. I say that, but I also really love sweet candles in the fall. But I wanted it to be something that people could burn year round. And I think we nailed that with this candle. Like, it's really something that you could give to anyone. It's not like too florally or powdery. It's just a really pretty scent.
I also don't think you realized it, but you just stepped into a whole nother lane. It's like you went clinic, skincare, now you're stepping into...
I just like cozy vibes.
Yeah,
like
cozy
health and wellness.
So what's next for Skin Pharm? Are you stepping into interior design and all of that too?
Not yet.
Or do you have your book deal yet?
No. I mean, I am going to be head down, just trying. The main focus right now is opening clinics. So for a while we were opening like one per year. And that's all we could do. And I mean, that was a lot. It felt like a lot.
Do,
I know,
honey.
I shouldn't have.
Like, that's everything.
It was.
We're going to rewind
more
that.
Than
She
one.
said all she can do. One
that was a manageable pace.
But that's incredible. One a year.
Well, we were self-funded. So when I say, truly all we can do as far as like the team that we had, that's all we could manage. And then being self-funded, it would really just be like whenever we had the cash, we would go open another one.
Yeah.
But now we have an amazing team in place, as I've mentioned a few times, but like we're ready to go. And then recently took an investment from Prelude Growth Partners, and that's helpful to have the capital, and now we can open. So we opened Franklin earlier this year, Houston this summer. We're hoping to do Alpharetta, another one in Atlanta by end of year, might be beginning of next, and then circling back to Dallas and maybe South Carolina.
Yeah. Well, I want to circle back to what you just said, because you said it was self-funded.
Yes.
And I wish we could install like the claps there, because this show is also self-funded.
Amazing.
And a lot of things that people do, they don't start with like seed money from an investor. They start with what they can do. So if it's one a year, this is what we can afford to do. And so I want to circle back and ask you, how long from ideation of Skin Pharm? So when you're in these dermatology clinics, I don't know what your last job was before this, dermatology, or whether it was plastic surgery. But I'm curious to know, when you were on these jobs and you're thinking of all of these things that people need and how your potential business idea can serve these people, how long from ideation to the business plan to the execution of the opening of the first Skin Pharm? How long was that, and what did that process look like?
Okay. This is an incredibly unique situation. So this is probably not going to be anyone else's situation. So really quickly to answer, so I was actually simultaneously practicing plastic surgery and dermatology. I was working for a plastic surgeon whose focus was reconstructive surgery, and he employed a dermatologist. So I truly was like hybrid both. And so I had a clientele because I was practicing. I started as an RN, graduated, and I was still there as an NP. So practicing as an NP. So then when I went to start Skin Pharm, I had an existing clientele base, which is very helpful. And then I also had some inventory. So my switchover was rather seamless, honestly. It took probably 12 months as far as like starting an LLC and developing our first logo, not our existing logo right now. And I created our website on, I think it's Squarespace. But about 12 months from when I decided I was going to do it and when we launched.
Was there something that just clicked in you that was like, I'm starting this business?
Yes. Many conversations with women here in Nashville that just encouraged me to do it, who have supported me since day one and are still like huge supporters. And I also had my first baby in 2016. And I think that was just a really empowering experience too. And so I was just like, I'm going to do this.
Motherhood will do it to you. I feel like I've never worked harder than when I got pregnant.
Yeah. Like maybe a little delusional, but that's okay.
Yeah. I don't know. There's something about it. There's probably a hormone that pushes you over the moon.
Yeah. Over the moon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Over the moon. And you're like, and I think you're freaking out. Well, at least for me, I was like low key freaking out because I was like, I'm about to be a mom. Like, I have to like make it happen out here.
I should make up multiple identities then. I should take on more.
Yeah, like I should and you should actually take on less. But for some reason, especially for women who are like just want so much out of like their own career. Like I tell people I'm a career woman by default. I think that we go even harder when we become moms. Yeah, for sure.
Lights a fire under you.
Yeah, it does. So 12 months, you had this clientele and they were willing to go with you. So you pretty much, this isn't everybody's situation, but I also want to drive in on the fact that you built this clientele while you were already somewhere. Because I think a lot of times people think, I'm just going to start this business. And they don't think about like, maybe be faithful where you are and meet people and network where you are and gather all these things. Like I had Brooke and Bryce on a couple of episodes ago, and Bryce graduated from Meharry Medical College. Well, I also worked at Meharry Medical College.
Okay.
So it's like you have to like bring these things full circle. And I know a lot of times people don't necessarily love where they are, but where you are is also seeding where you're going. And so I love that you brought that up because you basically let's get outside of funding. Like you were building your clientele and taking your people with you along the way.
Yes. And in the meantime too, it worked out very well for that, for my previous employer, and that I purchased his inventory and I was subleasing from him. So it was a very, it was ideal, honestly, because he was focused on the OR and I was over here asking to not play the local radio, and we just didn't, we had two different.
So when you say you purchased his inventory and you subleased from him, you mean like the actual location and okay, gotcha. So you pretty much somewhat had the business, and then the business.
So that was 2017 and 2019.
Okay.
And then did our first build out, moved in very beginning of 2019.
Okay.
So it was all just very like gradual and appropriate.
Yeah. So was Skin Pharm Nashville the location that it's at now? Is that the original?
Yes, that's the original, and that like the first location that I built out and opened. I practiced in Belle Meade.
Okay.
Prior to that, from 2017 to 2019.
Okay. So was the Belle Meade office the one you were leasing?
Yes.
I feel like you need to just put like a statue outside of it, because you need to just put a statue out there that's like the Maegan statue.
Yeah, right. My favorite thing though is when people will be like, I saw you at that office. I'm like, man, that was like it's not pre-Skin Pharm, but like pre-Nashville.
But you had boots on the ground, and I think there's something to be said for having your boots on the ground. Like I saw somewhere where you said you were still seeing patients.
Oh yeah.
And are you still seeing patients?
Yeah, like when I leave today, I'm going to go by the Nashville Clinic and co-treat. So I don't necessarily have like an open schedule. I closed my schedule probably, it was in February, like a little over a year ago. Because I have to there's a lot to do.
Yeah, well, girl, of course there's a lot to do. You own like multiple ones at this point.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I felt myself getting pulled in that direction of really needing to like step out of the clinic and lead and be in meetings. Honestly, I spend a fair amount of my time in meetings, and there's just so many good providers that I was like, patients can have an amazing experience if they go to
I think it goes back to your hiring strategy too, though. Like you've built a strategy as far as even the HR perspective that allows you to have peace.
Yes.
Because figuring out a team is a hard situation. And I talked to Mary about this too when she was here. We were talking about building your team of people and how difficult that can be. I want to go, we've talked about the funding, self-funded situation, but now I want to talk about how Skin Pharm recently received a minority investment of 15 million from Prelude Growth Partners, a female-founded growth equity firm focused on high-potential, fast-growing consumer brands, which Skin Pharm obviously fits in that category. So did you foresee the business gaining traction with investors when you started, or did you just kind of feel like, man, I'm always going to be self-funded out here?
I didn't foresee it, but this goes back to like, by trade, I'm a nurse practitioner. I started this as a true labor of love. I was just like, I selfishly want to create this environment. Thank God so many people ended up loving it.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, I wasn't like, and I'm going to raise money one day.
Yeah.
And even then, when it came down to raising, it wasn't what I think is probably the traditional way. I don't know, because I hadn't done it prior to this, but it wasn't this like me going into a boardroom and having to pitch myself and my company. It was honestly about 2 years ago, we started being approached by different groups, and my husband and I would talk to them. And then there were some that we would take a little further, and then just, it wouldn't be a good culture fit, or just the way the deal was structured itself, it wasn't appealing. And then Prelude reached out to us, and I think it was like late fall. And honestly, I think I'd like gotten through the holidays, and I was going through my inbox, and I mentioned it to Brad, and we were like, we should talk to them. And just from there, like each call just felt so good, where it can be like kind of uncomfortable, right? And it is,
money is uncomfortable to talk about.
And to be like evaluated in that way. And I'll be honest, like at points, sometimes the process could get emotional, but it was never uncomfortable. And that's how I knew it was the right people to partner with.
And when you say evaluated in that way, I want you to paint that picture for us, because I think a lot of people don't understand how investors work, period. So especially, people are starting to get it because the conversation around tech investments has become like a hot topic. So when an investor is investing in a company or a brand, they are diving deep into your everything all the way down to like your hiring practices and all of that, because they're going to be investors in your company. They're stakeholders.
Yes.
So I just want to, if you don't mind, share a little bit about what that looked like.
It wasn't like, I don't really look back and say that it was grueling. It's probably different for my husband, who like he's a CPA, so like he handles our finances, and I'm more of the like vision, marketing, and the feeler, where he's like operating. So probably a little more rigorous for him. But overall, so the way that we partnered with Prelude, it's a minority investment, and again, like they are a culture fit. Like I can confidently say that even if it were a majority deal, so if it looked different and I wasn't majority owner and I didn't still always have the final say, I would still be comfortable, because I know that they honestly still have our best interest in mind. And like when we're making decisions together about people, who to hire, where to grow, we're all aligned. So, and that's really, really important. Like I would say, to make sure I handled this partnership just like I do all these other hires, which is I'm obviously pretty hypercritical and picky. But that would absolutely be my advice. Like, this is a very important decision. It's kind of like a marriage, right? Like, we're going to be together for a while. And at the end of the day, they are partners, and we're making decisions with them. But thankfully, it's nothing but helpful. I respect them and their experience, and I know they feel the same toward our company. So
with the $16 million investment, is there like a time limit that you have to make so much money as far as revenue goes, or what are some of the stipulations around it?
The expectation is that we grow.
Okay. Grow as far as like opening up more clinics, or from the skincare side, or all of it?
Focuses on clinics, but then naturally like skincare plays into that. I mean, we've got
the candle company
and the candle company
that you didn't know was coming.
So I know the candles, we had someone big post about the candles the other day, and it's just so funny when they go off. It's a good candle though.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, we want to mindfully grow. Like that's the important thing. Like we have not put any structure around like we need to meet these
deliverables or KPIs by a certain date.
Yeah. Because, and listen, you need to have goals. So I guess I should say like, sure, we talk about them and they're documented, but at the end of the day, like we're not going to lose who we are at our core. And we're all aligned on that we need to continue being mindful. Otherwise it's not going to be Skin Pharm anymore. And that would be so sad to me. So, kudos to you for being able to get a multi-million-dollar investment. Are you allowed to raise more money with this deal, or what does this look like for you? Is this a cap, or are you allowed to also get even more money from other investors or from this investor potentially? No real rules around it, but this is it for now. It's all we need, honestly. And we didn't want to take anything any more than we need. We've been really, conservative, honestly, since the day that we started. We've just tried to be smart. And we're going to continue doing that. And I think to do that, you need to not have too much, right? To where you're just loosey-goosey. But this is like, we felt just the perfect amount to help get us to, if we want to open these several clinics that I just talked about, we can do that.
Is it going to be more than one a year?
It's going to be more than one a year.
Yeah. So Houston's the latest one, right? And so Alpharetta is in the works. And so that'll be 2 this year alone. Well, wait, when did Franklin open?
Franklin was the beginning of this year. So,
okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's 3.
2, maybe 3.
Okay, celebrate.
Yeah. We're doing it.
You're doing it. You're making this happen. And you mentioned that your husband is such an inspirational person for you because he has a startup background, but now he also works for you.
Yes.
Works for Skin Pharm. Should I say works for you or works for Skin Pharm?
I mean, he works for me, and I like to remind him of that every now and then.
Sir, you work for me.
Not often. It's like a few times a year. But works for Skin Pharm, came over to work for Skin Pharm right before we opened Atlanta. So before we went out of Nashville into a new market, he came on and listen, he was working for Skin Pharm since day one. Like, absolutely. I should give him the credit. He was definitely handling our finances, and he would work for Skin Pharm from 4 to 7 a.m. and not get paid, and then he would go into his other job from 7 to 5, working at a startup company. And I had to go recruit him for sure. I still remember the day where I took him for margaritas, and I was like, I need you to come over to Skin Pharm. But I felt like it was the perfect timing. Not too late, not too soon.
So what did recruitment look like? What was that conversation? Was it you're offering him a job? Like,
But then
he get
I was
an
like,
interview?
what do you want to get paid? I was like, you can negotiate with yourself. So he came on as our COO. He was really like COO, CFO. Honestly, today we probably look more like co-CEOs. We have our own departments that we manage independently, but then we still have a couple departments that are just so big and intimate with all the rest of the company that we co-manage. So I'd say that's probably how we're functioning today.
What's it like working with your husband?
Mostly great. It's a sacrifice to share your husband with your company, and you're just like, we were talking about it all weekend, and we were away for our anniversary. And that's fine because we obviously love it, but my point is like, it's hard to turn off, and then we have kids. So We've gotten better at knowing like when to shut work off for a minute and then turn it back on at like 8 p.m. But for the most part, if I'm being honest, like it can be incredibly sexy to build this together and advise each other. I think we really complement each other in that we have different strengths and we respect each other's opinion on if it is finances and it's clinic for me or clinical perspective. So overall, I'm grateful, and I really don't think that I would have like taken it this far without him. So
do you feel like his startup expertise was kind of what catapulted you?
For sure. Yeah, that was helpful.
Is there anything in particular with his startup expertise or background that really helped you?
I think anytime you work at a company, if you're being observant, you learn what to do and what not to do. And so we just took those learnings and applied them to Skin Pharm. And the same that I've done with my jobs since I've had the ones that I've had since I was 16 up until working in the ICU prior to being in the aesthetics industry.
And all of it.
And
so with him being in startups, does he still have some stake in the startups that he was working in, or did he completely leave those and come on over?
He no longer does with that company.
Well, so he is completely committed to Skin Pharm. So it's a family affair.
It sure is.
So have you drafted anybody else from the family into Skin Pharm?
No, I have not.
Okay, so your mom or siblings, nobody else is in it yet?
KK comes in for her treatment.
Is KK your mom?
Yeah, KK's
oh my goodness. Is she in Nashville?
Yeah.
Okay, we have
she's
to
20
meet
minutes
KK.
outside of Nashville.
Is KK like Kris Jenner, or like is she just like chill?
She's
is she your mama?
KK is not like Kris Jenner, but I wouldn't call her chill. Like, no offense, but
KK, if you're watching,
I love you.
Yeah, she loves you, and I haven't met you yet, but I have to meet you. So maybe I'll like book an appointment at Skin Pharm with you and Clementine. Okay. You'll be my what did you call it?
Co-treat.
Co-treat.
Yes.
I've never heard of that before.
I'd be happy to.
So do you take on like residents or anything like that in the clinics?
Not now. That was actually something that I did early on. I feel like I had up to 5 people that I would take, and I would be their preceptor. Mostly MP students, and that's how like Carly came on, actually. Who was the first provider that I hired. And then once Skin Pharm was taking off, I had to stop doing it because all the education and training is just focused internally right now. But it's a great way to recruit people.
So would you consider yourself what would I'm trying to ask you what the best way to ask this question, because I'm curious to know, would you consider yourself a better businesswoman or a better nurse practitioner, clinician? Because essentially a nurse practitioner is a clinician.
Right.
Or would you say that you are 50-50, or would you say I'm just that boss of
all of it? But no. Listen, I'm not practicing full time anymore. I'm pretty like right now the priority is how I can help move the business forward. I'm looking at the overall health of the company. But I do think the fact that I am a nurse practitioner and I am still in touch with everything is what makes the providers who work at Skin Pharm, what makes them want to work for me. And I even sometimes I'm like, I hate saying for me, but we're working together, and I respect them a lot, and I give them a lot of independence and autonomy. And I think that because I'm not, sometimes there's situations where I treat them as like an extension of me, and that's not the case. Like, obviously I'm here to say like, this is the brand and this is what people expect when they come, and I will train people in that way, but then they're still their own humans and they're educated women. And I'm not breathing down their necks telling them what to do. So I think that's another very appealing reason to come and work at Skin Pharm.
Are any of the nurse practitioners or PAs involved in any business decisions?
So we have several who have taken on additional roles. So we have clinical leads, and that's new up until I think like maybe 15 providers or around then. They would report directly into me. Then I felt like I was just holding things up, and to improve communication flow, we needed some people to help me. So we have Chelsea and Madeline, who are our clinical leads, and we have a clinical trainer who she's out of Dallas, Lauren, and once we fill her position, she's going to become like full-time trainer.
So she'll go from location to location. Yeah. So as a trainer, she'll go in and teach like the different procedures and make sure the staff is like up on the treatment.
Like how we do things, the Skin Pharm way.
Yeah, the Skin Pharm way, because that's part of the brand.
It sure is.
So I have to ask you, what advice do you have for founders looking for investors? Because your business seemed to be pretty established by the time these investors started coming to your doorstep. But I do think that like when you hear people talk about tech investors, it seems like it just happens. It just seems like, I had this idea for this app and I went to a pitching conference in a conference room and I put on my pinstripe suit and that was what happened. And I walked out of there with $15 million. So I'm curious to know what advice you have for founders.
I know, again, like I had such I feel like atypical experience. But I'm so heartfelt that like it has to feel right. And for me, I would just be really picky with who you partner with. I know I kind of sound like a broken record and I mentioned that earlier, but like get
How
to know them.
How do you get found by founders?
How do you what?
Get found
I still don't
by
know.
investors,
I need them to tell me how I don't know. Like, so the industry is, this is an exciting industry. So I think that people are looking, but it's something that stood out to them, because I remember they asked me on one of our first meetings, they were like, why do you have so many 5-star reviews? So I don't know if they were looking and then they thought, well, let's talk to this company. And I was like, they're all real too. Like they're not, but great reviews on our product line and our clinics. And I think that goes back to me from day one being so focused on offering a good experience. And now like it's bigger than me. It's 75 people. So I thankfully have taught that to the leadership team and they're teaching that and it's trickling down. And so everyone at the company is really committed to like maintaining this amazing experience that we provide at Skin Pharm. And then you get these amazing testimonials and then people are, spreading word of mouth, and they're just it spreads like wildfire, and it can be good or bad, and it spreads really quickly. So my focus has been on it being good.
Yeah, for sure. I did have a question of what is the best marketing means for you?
So I still love organic. That's what we've done since the very beginning. But it looks a lot different now. Our marketing strategy is more complex, but I just feel like nothing replaces word of mouth. Like talking to your girlfriend and being like, I had a great experience with so-and-so and you should go see her. So that's still my favorite.
So in a world of social media, what's your favorite platform to market Skin Pharm on?
The majority of our customer is on Instagram. And so I'm 35 and our customer is usually like around my age, maybe it might skew a little bit younger, honestly, but I mean, we're seeing like 21 to 60s, but, or even up, but, I feel like we're attracting the millennial women right now. And millennials are still on Instagram. Not to say like I'm on other platforms as well. But we, like we're on TikTok and it's fun. But I think Instagram is still probably
What's your favorite personally?
To post, that's a good question. I'd say Instagram, because I like pretty things and I like curated, and I understand that we're getting a little annoyed with curated, and we also like authentic. I am not getting annoyed with
curated. I love it. I love curated.
Part of me is like, well, I hope that we have a good eye and that we know how to like shoot this and edit this, because we're dealing with your face. We should be artistic. But I get it that like TikTok is fun. Like I'm on there plenty, but my algorithm is different on TikTok. Like that's my book talk, like all my fantasy reads and travel talk, where like Instagram is me catching up with my friends and family and seeing what they're up to in other companies.
Are you still on Facebook?
I would be if I weren't locked out.
Facebook, Meta, get it together. You have
a goal this
a
year.
multi-million-dollar founder who's locked out of her account. This is a problem.
I need your help.
Yeah.
Please.
Anybody work at Meta out there?
Thank you.
Anybody out there?
Thank you, Jasmine. Help.
I know, for sure. Well, I think social media definitely is working in your favor. I think Instagram, you're right, has been a big catalyst for Skin Pharm for sure.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of the clinicians that work for Skin Pharm, they use their social media to also educate people on like the different things. Like Clementine does an excellent job with it. She's always showcasing the different things. Because I remember my first time going in, I was like, I don't know what I need. And she's like, well,
I got you.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. But I also trusted her because I followed her on social media.
Exactly.
And not only is she a nurse practitioner, but she also is somebody who's like personable on social media that I can follow. And I love that social media is not just saturated with craziness. It's also saturated with people, or it's also not saturated. It's full of people who can offer expertise that's going to help other people.
Yes.
For sure. So, yes. Do you encourage that?
I sure do.
Yeah. Do you guys have any team building activities that you all do that like keep the nurse practitioners and the PAs like up on everything?
We do. Yeah. I mean, we have a very supportive marketing department who lets them know. I just saw a Slack go out this morning about what's trending, or, we like to remind people that it's good to post every now and then. It's their portfolio, so sharing before and afters is so valuable. And then, like you mentioned, Clementine doing Q&As and offering skincare questions. So it's definitely become an expectation. Honestly, it's just such a great resource.
So I want to go back. Well, if they can hear the ambulance driving by. I guess we'll have to cut that.
Okay.
Like,
you want to go?
Yeah.
Well,
in the city. I actually might keep it because it's kind of funny. But anyways, so I want to talk also about your husband being your employee and him saying, or you asking like, well, what do you want to be paid? Because this is business advice that I feel like no one talks about. I was in a mastermind group and one of the women in the mastermind group said, are you all paying yourselves? And so when she asked that, everybody looked around and was like, no. Or like some people said yes, but majority of people in the mastermind group said no. And I bring this up because I feel like it is a very important topic for people to understand that business it's overarching and you as a founder are still an employee. And so you need to pay yourself and you need to figure out how much you want to be paid. And you probably need to work with a CPA in order to figure out these things. And you need to pay your taxes and you need to understand all of these logistics. Yes. So that's why I bring it up, because I don't think that people talk about that when it comes to business. They talk about get your logo and your website. You don't really think about that.
You're excited about the other things.
No. So
I will say that both he and I took a pay cut from our previous jobs. We paid ourselves because we had a family to support, but it was a pay cut, and that's to be expected.
Absolutely.
And that was for a while. I mean, we waited until we were profitable, and again, I think that's why we looked good to investors, because we weren't like taking money out of the company and buying yachts. We were like, I mean, really anything that we made stayed in the company outside of us like having enough to, make a living. But
absolutely. And you have 3 kids to take care of. So you contend with that. But still, like, you have to pay yourself. And as founders or people who work for yourself, you have to basically decide what that looks like. But either way it goes, all of the money that you make is not for you to take home.
I would not recommend that.
No. I mean, but I think that to me, that's business 101, like first step. I have an MBA. I'm like, yes.
That's right.
Make sure you figure out like your business structure. And that's why I'm bringing it up. And that's why I'm talking to you about it. I want people to leave this show and have their stuff together, because who cares about a logo at this point? Like, you need to make sure that your bottom line, your foundation is set, because you can't have all these people working up in here and you're not paying yourself and you're not paying them accurately. Like, it just doesn't work that way. So no. So with your business structure, how many different departments do you have? You've got a marketing team you mentioned. You have you and your husband who are pretty much co-CEOs, or you're the boss woman in charge, but you know, he washes the dishes.
COO officially, but
yeah.
Then we have product dev. We have real estate. We have accounting. I feel like I'm going to leave someone off and get in trouble. And then we have the clinical team. We have clinic ops. We have HR. So it's people in recruiting. And I'm sure I'm leaving someone off. And we have e-com.
So as a CEO, what does a day in the life of the CEO look like when you're hopping around these different aspects of the business?
It's truly never the same. And sometimes I'll get a routine down that lasts for like 6 weeks and then like totally have to evolve into a new role and new schedule. There are weeks where I'm like, okay, I'm good. Like I concentrated my meetings to Tuesday and Thursday, and then my Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I was prepping for meetings and then taking those action items and doing things from the meetings. Or maybe I did have free time to strategize and brainstorm or connect with other women in the community. Those are weeks where I'm like, I'm like, okay, I also like picked the kids up for ice cream. I'm crushing it. Yeah. And then there's weeks where I'm like, I am straight up working for Skin Pharm. I am owned, like I am underwater, and you just never know. And I've had to learn that there's just going to be ebbs and flows. But I really, no day is really the same. Like today I'm going to talk to you, which is a great way to start the week.
And I appreciate you taking the time out.
Yes, same to you.
And us being able to have like a 10-minute coffee date before we started this. Like,
because I was early.
Yeah, because she was early. No guests are ever early for the Sweet House.
I wouldn't have even considered it early, so I have a problem, I think.
No, I love that. I love that we were able to have that moment. But as a CEO, obviously you're very, very busy, and you do take the time out to co-treat sometimes. So how do you stay on top of your education as a board certified nurse practitioner? And do you want more education? Do you want to go back and be a doctor, or what's next for you? I've maintaining my license. That's very important to me. And I'll recertify. I think I'm up next year. And I'm going to a training with one of our PAs. I think it's here in Nashville next weekend. So that'll be like a 3-day seminar. So it's all very important to me. Like I still love aesthetics. Like it was really hard for me to not treat anymore. And I would still like kind of sneak in and pick up the syringe. And I'm in a good place with it right now. Like co-treating gets me there, and that fulfills me. But I don't know, additional schooling. Maybe I'll like teach a course at Belmont or something, but I don't know if I can handle a PhD or doctoral program right now. Maybe I'm sure I'll get bored as the kids get older. My kids are also I said 7, 5, and 2, so they keep me busy too. Well, you're in the trenches with that. That's going to be my next question. How are you balancing businesswoman life with mom life? How does that happen? Lots of support. So you've got your village. Look, I saw this Instagram post, and it said the village we were supposed to have. Where's that? I know, exactly. And then Tom Hanks was on the meme, and he was like, is anybody out there? The supposed village. Right. Yes, I've seen it. So talk about the supposed village. I really do have one, though. So I've been in Nashville for over 20 years. So it's home now, and my husband's born and raised, so we have a lot of family here. We have parents that are willing to help. We have a full-time nanny who's amazing. And then I'm like, what else do we have? My 2 older kids are in school right now. And school is so helpful. How do you feel with them in school? I'm going to melt when Rain goes to school. I'm okay. I went through the whole transition last year of my oldest started kindergarten, and that was very emotional. And then I think with my boy going into kindergarten the year after, I'm kind of like, I just did this, and I saw all the benefits. Like she grew so much and learned so much, and I think she really thrived. The socialization and all of that. Like she was ready. So having him go into kindergarten, and he's also just loving it. So we're good. It doesn't mean that it's not crazy season, like with all the school things going on. I mean, we have probably like 6 things we're trying to go to in a 3-hour span on Thursday night. It's just not going to happen.
And then my littlest is still, she's 2. So I'm just like really trying to.
Yeah. Embrace those moments too, because they go fast. Yeah. Rain will be 2 in November. So yeah.
She is so dang cute.
Thank you. We got to get the girls together.
We should.
Oh my goodness.
No, Lenny needs friends too. I feel like the third, I'm like, did you need friends? Sorry.
Yeah. Well, Rain is a socialite, so she's a star. Like, ask Mary. She is just like, I'm owning this set, and like, yeah. She modeled for Mary recently. I saw that. Yeah. Yes. So if you come out with some kids products for Skin Pharm, Rain's got you covered. Okay. She's like ready for it. Yeah.
I can't wait to receive my Nema in the mail too.
Oh my gosh, the Nema is so good. We use it every night. So Rain just has a good time with the bottles in the bathtub.
I know. So I saw the kids just kind of like playing with it.
It's just so creative and cute, and the colors and all that. So you're balancing mom life, and you are balancing wife life with work life, and you're staying on top of being certified and all of these things. Do you ever have time when you're just like, I just can't do it? I can't do it today.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And what do you do when you're feeling like that?
72 hours ago. What do I do? I mean, usually, like, if I can get a workout in, that helps. I really have to prioritize mental health. And I feel like I worked out for, like, totally different reasons 5-10 years ago. And now it's like, I just need to do it to keep my mind right. Yeah. And it's unfortunate because I feel like now I need to do it, like, every day as far as like if I'm helping my mood. Yeah. And it doesn't happen all the time, but like today I went at 6 a.m. Yeah. But I told you my husband was up at 3 and woke me up, so I was up and ready to go.
Her husband was up in the middle of the night brushing his teeth with a new toothbrush. Is he an influencer?
It was an investment. He should link this
if he's got you up at 3 a.m. he better be working for that toothbrush.
He's so excited about it. I don't even know. I was gonna say it's Aura Bay, but that's not right. That's hair care. It's Aura something, which would make sense.
Yeah. Well, hey, at least he got you up so you could get up and go work out.
He was just guaranteeing.
So how important is it that you have some of these practices in place as a business owner, as a CEO? Like, how important is it for other people, everyday people? Yeah.
I mean, I like my baths, and we joke that like that's where I go because it's the only place. I say that people will leave me alone, but my kids will still like come bother me. Yeah. But like I need alone time. I'm actually rather
introverted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Just like it's kind of hard because I'll count going to a workout as like alone time or self-care, and it's like, no, that's just necessary. Like, but that's just women,
alone
right?
Time and self-care.
Yeah. But I'm like, I also need, I should probably like get back into talk therapy, and I need to build we're in August, and I remember at the beginning of this year, I was like, I'm going to build my like health and wellness tribe, and here we are. But
do you have any friends around you that help motivate you to work out and stuff and keep you accountable?
Yes.
Yeah. I know
for sure. There's amazing women in Nashville. Who are very encouraging.
Especially because you've been here for 20 years.
Yeah.
So I go to Hot Yoga, East Nashville. Yeah. And every time I leave from there, I feel like I've just had an Oprah, like, Super Soul Sunday class, because the instructors are so good that they leave you, it's like you, like, leave motivated. Yeah. Like, they say something during class.
Like
I'm
cleansing.
Like, what kind of yoga training are y'all going to? Yeah. They're like
it's
motivational
really
speakers. Yeah. So do you feel that way when you're going to, I know you mentioned you go to Core Power yoga. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really great. There's usually, depending on the instructor, we'll talk about, we set our intention, and it's a good workout. It's nice. I've taken Brad, and he was like, okay, this is not like a little mommy workout. Like, this is tough.
No, not at all.
He actually left the room, and the instructor was like, you shouldn't do that because you're going to pass out. So
exactly. And I can't see you when you leave the room. So if you're doing yoga, you have to stay in the room. Yeah.
But I love it. I think it's like not your typical vinyasa. There's like heat, as you know, and some cardio involved.
I'm going with you.
Yeah, we should go.
Yeah, let's do
I'm going all this week.
Yeah. Well, I will be there with you one of these days.
Keep me on my routine, please.
I will totally keep you on your routine because I'm with you. Working moms in general, or people in general, I feel like need to make sure they have some sort of established healthcare routine.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Got to take care of yourself to take care of others.
Absolutely. And it's the foundation for you being able to do everything else you're doing throughout your day.
Yeah.
So as we shift back into work life, you've been able to amass celebrity clientele. So some of those are Kelsey Ballerini, Miriam Morris, and Carly Pierce. They've been brand followers for a while. And then you mentioned you've been in Nashville for 20 years. So how have you been able to amass this celebrity clientele? Is that also like word of mouth, or is it like how do you get these people to really speak for your business as well?
It is. It's the same thing. Like, I'm thinking back, I was like, how did they come? But it's the same story that one of their girlfriends told them that they needed to come, that they had a really good experience. They were at a dinner party and they were asking where they should go.
Are you ever nervous to have a celebrity clientele?
Not necessarily. Just I've tried to treat everyone the same. Like, everyone's VIP when they come through the door. It's really exciting. And I think you're like, I really hope they're happy, but you hope everyone's happy, right? Yeah. But of course, yes, they have like a large following, and it's very helpful to the brand if they're happy and they help spread the word. I think more than anything, it's just exciting. That's probably the emotion that I would use to describe it. But I think that when they come in, we just try to take really good care of them as we do everyone. And then if we're a good fit, then we have them like mentioning us in press, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm really, really grateful.
I also feel like Nashville makes it a little bit more comfortable to be a celebrity. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, I completely agree. I've talked about that with some of them, and they're so like down to earth when they come in, and
nobody's
it's not
chasing
to say
them
that,
around.
Yeah. And not to say that I don't have like mad respect for what they're doing. And when I'll be like, oh, you just sold out an arena last night. Well, I was at home doing whatever. But
have you been starstruck by anybody?
We had someone come in who was like, we've all like known her for so long, and it was really exciting.
Yeah.
But same thing, you're just like, how can I help take care of your skin?
Do you clear the whole clinic out?
We don't. And there's another entrance too, but we don't really use it. The celebs like didn't really want to use it, and maybe that's a Nashville thing. They were like, I'm gonna go out the front lobby and
just sit there with everybody else.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's a interesting question. I hadn't thought about that in a while.
Yeah. Well, I was working with Four Seasons. There's a fly flying around me. I was working with Four Seasons, Las Vegas, and they have like celebrity entrances here and there. So they were like, and I mean,
they can tell me if you want to use it, we can use it.
Okay. Well, next time I come to Skin Pharm, I'm taking the celebrity. Be like,
Jasmine's.
I'm not quite there yet, but when I get to Oprah status,
you put your sunglasses on and walk out.
Yeah, I'm gonna put on my sunglasses and I'm coming through the back door.
Okay,
I can be like completely nobody.
Back on this day.
I know, right? I'm literally gonna look back on this. My sister was in the Hamptons at. She was performing at a Rolling Stone movie opening for Lionel Richie.
Oh yeah.
Hold on, Little Richard, not Lionel Richie.
I was like, okay.
And she was she called me afterwards and she goes, "Girl, I didn't even know how to act." There were all these people there.
She was like, "Hi."
Yeah. She's like, "I had no idea how to act. Like, I just like you see these people on TV, but like seeing them in person." She's like, "Yeah, I didn't know what to do."
Hamptons too.
And P.S. I don't know why I always get Lionel Richie and Little Richard.
They sound very similar.
They do. I'm like, yeah. So no, like Little Richard.
Two different people.
I know, two different people. I'm like, and Little Richard, I think at one point was like living in Nashville. I feel like I heard he was like living in Nashville at one point.
Maybe. I feel like everyone at some point bought land here or...
Well, people don't realize that Nashville is like a mecca. And I mean, did you ever consider going somewhere else and starting Skin Pharm first? Or like, I feel like Nashville is a breeding ground for you being able to raise up a business, if you will. So...
I mean, because my clientele was here, it definitely made sense to start my clinic in Nashville. But when we were considering expanding, like instead of Atlanta, we considered Franklin, and that was in 2019.
Yeah.
We just did Franklin.
Yeah.
Or LA. Like two, and we were really looking at Studio City. And then we looked at our online orders, and I just talked to people on Instagram. And my following isn't huge, but it's very engaged.
Absolutely.
And they've really told me where to go for all the clinics. We're starting to be a little more data driven with looking at other information, but at the end of the day, it's like, where are people ordering our product from? And it was Atlanta. And then where are they, whether I post and people comment or in my DMs, people will, I mean, right now it's so funny. People will be like, do you not like Chicago? Why are you not in Chicago?
Chicago, I can see you doing Chicago. Is it on the lineup?
Especially during the summer.
Oh yeah. Chicago's excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love that you're doing everything based off of the analytics, because I also feel like that's also something that people need. That's business advice that people need. Yeah. And P.S., like a social media following in this day and age, it almost doesn't even matter, because the smaller you're following, the more people see your stuff. For for some reason, when you start growing, they really start cutting your engagement. It's crazy. So it is good that you still are able to have that sort of engagement with your people, but also that you're able to look at the e-commerce analytics and then make decisions based off of that.
Right.
So I will tell any business owner that that's also like a good way of like determining next steps for your business.
Right.
Too.
Yeah. Like,
or tangible.
Where's brand awareness?
Yeah. So how's Atlanta doing?
Atlanta's great.
Yeah.
Atlanta's, it's in Buckhead, and it's great. I mean, Atlanta, we opened days before shutdown. So it was a pretty wild start, but it's all good. They're thriving.
Weeks before the 2020 shutdown.
Yes.
Okay. And so how did the clinics fare through then? Because at that point you had how many?
2. I'm like, right? Yeah. We had 2. So we shut them down, and then we had our skincare line. And it was a big moment for our skincare line. I mean, thankfully, people who were at home, or everyone was at home, Did you take
your marketing efforts up a notch?
Yes.
Yeah. And so, and then were you still able to keep your same staff? And
we kept everyone, yes. We just moved like product around. We did more phone consults, but we were shipping product. We didn't have a warehouse at the time. So, right. Yeah, we didn't have I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Don't quote me. I'm like, I think it was at the end of 2000. It's when I had my second baby.
You've been up since 3 a.m.
2020. So we did not have our warehouse, because I took Lenny. This is how I have to remember things. I'm like, I had her in that little pumpkin carriage thing. So it was after her. Yeah.
So, I mean, you've been able to survive through the pandemic. You have gone through nonprofit stage to being a profitable business to now having $15 million investments into your business. How does that make you feel? Do you even recognize the power that you've been able to exude through that?
Probably not enough. Yeah. I think we all do that. Like we need to stop and celebrate our wins. And I'm trying to do that. Yeah. But you do just kind of get like used to, like, that's my new normal. Right. But when I stop and think about it, I am like, this is crazy. The jobs that we've given people, and what I wanted as an employee, that's what we've been able to provide to people. And that's not to say that we're perfect, but I do feel like Brad and I as a team, we really try our hardest to like do what's right and act how we would want our employer to act. Yeah. So it is really cool, the impact that we've been able to make so far.
Isn't it cool to think about it as a CEO, founder, businesswoman, what have you, that if you never went after your dream, you wouldn't have been able to like provide a lifestyle for all of these people.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's wild to think about.
Where would I be?
Yeah. And so your calling is like something that you must explore in order to serve other people. Yeah. Sometimes you don't need to give people things. Yeah. You just need to follow your calling. Okay. I just have like a couple more questions.
Okay.
I'm in awe of you. You're like my celebrity friend now.
You too.
I'm like, I love it. I love everything that you're
I feel
doing.
the same.
And I just admire you and I love it. And I get you as a businesswoman. I feel you. And I love that. I love talking to other businesswomen.
Thank you.
So, because I know, and you're like a skilled trade certified businesswoman who's like momming and doing all these things. So yeah,
that's nice to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, we all have to give each other our flowers.
We do.
Especially.
I like that phrase so much. I'm going to use that.
Yeah, girl. Go out and use it. So, what should we add to our skincare routines with the fall and winter months coming up?
Year round, my answer is always SPF. If you're not using SPF, you need to. I don't want you investing in other products or in clinic treatments if you're not using SPF. And that's like rain or shine. And as far as SPF, we have some different ones, but it's just like whichever one you actually like, how it looks on your skin, like that's what you're going to wear every day. So that's...
Does it matter for skin pigmentation for SPF? So do black girls need a certain number of SPF or?
I like 30 or higher.
Okay.
For everyone.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, good to know. My favorite Skin Pharm product, I believe, is the Heavy Whip Moisturizer.
The face whip.
Yes, the face whip. Did I say it wrong?
Well, no. Well, you said heavy whip, and that got us there.
I feel like I wake up with like baby skin in the morning.
That soft skin.
Yeah, it does something to my soul on the inside.
And it is good for fall and winter. So
it is.
That's a great
I think that's going to be a good one. Well, it's been good for me for the summer too. And I do some acne treatment here and there. So for me, some of the acne products will dry my skin out. And then the whip moisturizer just whips me back into shape.
Whips that.
So you guys, you should pick up those two products. I do use SPF every day, and I didn't throughout my life. I didn't realize what I needed until I went to Skin Pharm, and Clementine got me together.
That's all right.
So thank you, Clementine. I will ask you just a couple more questions. These can be rapid fire. You don't have to give a long answer for these, but what's your current pit and peak of business?
Okay, I would say like the hardest part of my job is saying bye to people, whether it's on my term or theirs. It's like, it's really cruddy. Like no one, I think any other business owner would say that too, especially if you like care, and I do. And so that's never fun. But on the flip side, it's really amazing to see people come and grow and thrive and grow personally and professionally. And we've done that so much because we've really focused on growing and promoting people internally.
Yeah.
I mean, in 2020, we had some really interesting hires where people would be like, I will work flex, I will work e-com, and I will work your front desk. And now she's like running real estate expansion for us. So it's really, really rewarding to see that. That was a kind of long answer.
No, I love that. No, it wasn't long at all. I love that. I love that you've been able to promote and invest in your people, because people don't want to just work a job now. People want to work a job that's also going to elevate and expand their career paths.
Right.
It's like, I don't want to waste my time anymore. We don't have the time to give.
No.
So,
sadly.
What do you do for self-care?
I love yoga. I love yoga sculpt. I love taking my baths, and I love walks. The other day, I was like, man, I'm definitely mid-30s because I just love walking outside. And I don't feel like I appreciated an outdoor walk like 10 years ago as much as I do now. So I love getting outside. And then I love reading. So I got back into reading fiction like a year ago. And that was huge for me. I like picked up, I think it's Taylor Jenkins Reid, one of her books, at the beach. And it was like, I was like, this is interesting.
It slows down my mind.
Yeah, but it's a great escape. And I went from, that was probably like a modern romance book, to now I'm just all in on like fantasy reads, and it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, no 50 Shades of Grey for you. No, I'm kidding.
That's on the list.
Well, you guys, Maegan has gone from ICU nurse to Chief Executive Officer. So I think she's got some incredible business techniques that she is living by through Skin Pharm's evolution. And if you could share this podcast today, that would be great. But if nothing else, you took away some great gems from an incredible mom, wife, and business owner that I think will carry you guys a long way. So thank you for coming to the Sweet House and sharing all your cookies with us.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Me too.